Perfect. All right. So let's talk a little bit about your background and how you got into trading, when you started, etc., etc.
Yeah, okay. So I have been trading since, or on and off really, since about 18, which is 13 years ago now.
A long
So
time.
a long time, yeah. And I guess similar sort of story to a lot of people. I've tried all sorts of different things. I think I got into it to start with. I just saw an advert for spread betting.
Yeah.
I think it was in the paper, in like my dad's newspaper. I just saw a little advert in the back of the paper, and I was like, "What is that?" And I was working at Lloyd's Bank at the time, and it sort of fell in nicely with that, I guess. And yeah, it just snowballed from there really. Made some money, lost some money. I've been in like groups. I've tried all sorts of algos, all sorts of different like manual strategies, and kind of struggled to find like the consistency really, and to find something that actually worked for me on a regular basis. And that's, I guess, something that kind of led me to POW, in that I knew it was something I wanted to be successful at, because it's just clicked with me from the start, and just couldn't get it right. And somehow I managed to completely bypass prop firms. Hadn't heard of them at all until last year. So
I think they've only recently been around, like in the past few years.
yeah,
Got really known in the past few years, but yeah, I'm similar to you, to be honest. Like, what would you say are the top 3 things that you were struggling with then before you found POW, or before you joined POW?
I guess I kind of touched on it already, the word consistency. So I guess finding something that I knew would continue working in the long run if I put the time in, which if you trade in like a manual strategy, it's very difficult to get like proper data on that. You've got to put a lot of hours in to manually backtest something, and how reliable is that? Especially if you've got any sort of like discretion to the trades you're taking, it's very difficult. So not having that data, not having found an EA or anything like that actually seemed like it worked, made it difficult for me, I guess.
Having something that you could trust, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And for me, I work in financial services, and I love numbers. So like, having the data in front of me makes things a hell of a lot easier. It's a lot easier to make decisions on what actually to do.
Yeah.
So I guess the other side is, I guess, the mentality piece. Not something I would say I've massively changed since being in POW, but there's the tools to help with Elevate and things like that if I need it. I feel like getting into POW kind of just helped on its own anyway, in the sense of like it clicked that actually, yeah, this does seem to work, and I can trust that I can see the numbers, and I can see other people are using it and see their results, and see how successful Darren's been with it and all that sort of stuff. So that helped in itself, because I say as like a manual trader or using other EAs that maybe don't have all of the capabilities that the banker does, it's very easy to blow an account.
Yeah.
And that's happened a few times, as I'm sure it has to every manual trader at some point on their journey. It's always the way.
One painful journey.
Yes, exactly. But it's been a lot less painful since I've purchased Banker. And
Great stuff.
it's been really, it's opened my eyes to like how much money there is out there to be made. I know that's like greed can easily take over when you properly think about it.
I understand exactly what you're saying. It opens up like so many different avenues.
Yes.
It's not just like money based and financial based. It's just like all these different branches going off. It's like if you try and tap into each one, like where you're going to be in like 3 to 5 years time. But one thing that I was going to ask is like, if you hadn't have joined POW, like where do you think you would be right now with your trading? So if nothing had changed, where would you be?
I think you kind of hit the nail on the head there. Nothing would have changed. I think I still would have been looking for that strategy or that EA that I could find some sort of consistency with, and probably wouldn't be there, because if I've not managed to find it in like 12, 13 years beforehand, what's going to say I would have found it in that time?
So kind of going around in circles.
Exactly. Yeah. There's POW was sort of what broke that cycle, I guess.
Yeah, great to hear. So that's your like trading side of things. If nothing had changed, or you hadn't have joined POW, like where do you think you'd be with, yourself, like personally? Like how would that have affected you personally?
I guess that's an interesting one, actually. So as I say, it's kind of opened my eyes to what is achievable. And I'm not going to claim to have made tons and tons of money so far. I mean, I've had a few payouts from Ftmo, which is great. Right. Not life-changing amounts of money yet, but Like
Still
that's the goal, right? It's a possibility that once you know how to use Banker, you've got the chance to be able to like change your life. And I'm on that pathway to being able to do that, I guess. So like things like being able to like go on more expensive holidays, not having to book economy seats on a flight, for example.
Yeah.
Things like that make your life easier and make your
Yeah.
life better. Like
Yeah.
those things are much more attainable.
Yeah.
If you get it right and consistently get it right in the long term. And that's what I'm aiming to do.
Love that, mate. Love that. Fantastic. Great stuff. So whilst being inside of POW, like how long have you been a member for, roughly?
It's pretty much a year now, actually, since I joined.
Yeah. So in that time, like, what would you say are 3 things that you've really focused on? So I'll give you an example. You created the DD Peaks spreadsheet, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so absolute legend for that. I also think like that's one of the powers of the community as well, is just having people like yourself that are just willing to help others and do things like that, which will benefit everyone's journey. But like, what would be 3 main things that you focused on? Is it Edge? Is it Banker? Are you Red Alert member? Any other spreadsheets that you've come across?
Yeah, so I'm just Banker member for now.
Okay, cool.
Whether that changes, who knows? We'll see. So I've been fairly successful Banker so far. So
Yeah,
why change the winning formula? If I want to change it in future, yeah, maybe I want to branch out. Who knows? But yeah, for now, just Banker. I think, like I say, that I created that spreadsheet. I know like Jake spent a lot of time on his set finder sheet, and he's building an app now as well to make that even better.
Finder's been a game changer.
Yeah, I think it's all about like the marginal gains that you get from that, because they're taking away just little tasks, like they're simple tasks, like running through your data. It's just making those moments easier and quicker, so you can make better decisions. You've got then potentially more time to spend on making those decisions, rather than like you think, oh, I've got an hour, I need to do all of this and do all of that and sort all these things out, and then I've got to go out and do some like real life things outside of that, and you almost try and rush to get through it. Whereas all these marginal gains make it so much easier, and you can spend the time on actually properly, like Darren talks about the critical thinking side, properly critiquing the numbers that you can see and thinking, how can I use that in conjunction with another set file and all that sort of stuff. That's been a key, like the marginal gains, and that's why I built that sheet in the first place. I just wanted to save the time, because I thought this is like a mind-numbing task that I don't want to do all the time, and
stressful as well, right?
Exactly, yeah, and you can easily like tie yourself up in knots if you, especially like some of the guys in the group, have like 20-30 sets on the go at a time, which is mad. When you're trying to keep on top of all those different numbers, and it just makes it a whole lot easier if you can just chuck a load of bits in one place, really simple, and see the outputs of it, and then make your decisions off the back of that. So that's been key, like the marginal gains. And I guess what else? Anything else that I've focused on?
You've covered a lot there, to be fair.
That's quite a lot. I mean, that's probably going to do for now, isn't it? I can't
you smashed it there, to be honest. And then like how we're talking about, we touched a little bit on you getting funded with Ftmo, right? Is there, what other success have you seen? So maybe you could give us an example of, if you're comfortable doing it, talking about your payouts, or if you've been funded in any other prop firms. What sort of success have you seen so far?
So for me, it's only Ftmo that I've passed with so far. So I've had 4 payouts for a total of a few $1,000s.
Very nice.
So a decent chunk of money, which is great.
Great stuff. That covers the cost of Banker as well, right?
Oh yeah, exactly. So that's done, and I'm a lifetime member, so that's now me done for life, which is great. So I've got that tool there forever now.
Charge.
Yeah, exactly. So one thing that's kind of not annoying, but not about Banker, but just annoying about the way that things have happened. Just other things in my life have got in the way for a few months. So I passed last summer. It was my first challenge. Passed it on, I think, the last day, which was great. And then from there, other things in my life sort of got in the way a little bit. So I wasn't able to put as much time towards the trading as I wanted to.
Yeah.
So it was a case of, I'll find a set file, I'll run it to make a little bit of money. And that's what got me those 4 payouts, basically. But I didn't have the time to really concentrate on it and put enough effort into it, I guess. So I've not attempted any challenges anywhere else in that time. So I went yeah, like 6, 7, 8 months just with that one funded account, hadn't attempted any other challenges, and yeah, got a few payouts basically.
That's great stuff though, because you've actually, by the sounds of it, like that's actually like less stressful than trying to pass like other challenges. And just, you know, one of the mistakes I made was just like taking challenge after challenge, like chasing that dream. So
Yeah.
by the sounds of it, it sounds like you've slowed right down, and it's kind of worked out a little bit better for you.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about it in that way, to be fair. Like in my head, I've been the last sort of couple of months where I've now got more time again to put back into it, which is great. I've sort of felt like I felt like I should have done more at the time. I should have gone for more challenges. I passed the first one. I should have maybe done another one and another one, see if I could build on that. But yeah, maybe that would have been a bit of a challenge from like a mindset side of things. So
I think you also need to see, like, you know, I know you speak a lot inside the group and you give like a lot of feedback, but one of the things that Darren always talks about is like, you know, what if you had jumped in those challenges and then would have failed? You know, how would that affected your confidence? How would that affected your decision making going forward? Like, by the sounds of it, it sounds like you're in kind of a good place, like mentally with it all. And that's through, you know, just building that confidence up over time and just sticking at it, by the sounds of it. So if you was to give some advice to either, you know, people looking to join, maybe they're on the fence, or, you know, new members, what would be 3 pieces of advice that you would give?
Okay, I did write some down. I did come prepared for this, actually, this question.
Let
me just find what I wrote. So I've touched on this one first a little bit already. So follow the data. So as I say, I love the numbers. I think once you really get into the testing side of things, you can see that consistently, like I think there's the file that Connor made maybe in the Google Drive that shows the 822 method works. He's done it consistently over a long period of time. Even just something simple like that, you can see you repeat the same process over and over again. The data says it's done this over the last however many weeks, and it gets a very similar result most of the time. So in the long term, it's going to play out. So like trusting that, following the data and trusting it as well, that you can see your back test looks good. So you've got no other reason to think it's not going to do well when you run it live. So I think that's pretty key. You've got to learn to trust that. And I kind of built that up a little bit myself. I passed a couple of Ftmo demo accounts before I did my challenge in the first place. So I wanted to make sure that, well, I've got my process down in itself, but also like it showed me that I could run an optimization, find something that looked good and run it and actually see very similar results. So that I think that was quite key. And I think I've seen a few people in the group who maybe try and skip that step and they just want to jump straight in. I know it's really tempting, but it's probably key to
it's key for confidence, right?
Build up your confidence, build up your trust in banker, in the numbers that you see, and that actually if you run a back test, it's got low drawdown and it's going to make a decent amount of profit, it's probably going to continue doing that for a certain amount of time anyway. So I think that's really key. Another one, thinking long term. So I guess that kind of ties in with some of the things that I did at the start, was set myself some goals. It's not, I'm not like I wouldn't religiously have a list and tick them off as I go, but in my head I was thinking, right, first I want to know that it works. I want to pass some demo accounts on Ftmo, which I did. So effectively, that in my head, that's ticked off. Then I want to pass the challenge, and then I want to get my first payout. So I was sort of planning ahead that that's what I want to do, and I can then sort of scale it from there and tick those off as I go. So that's I think that's been quite important, really, and that gets you more in that long-term mindset that you don't want to pass your account. You've got a 100k account now, and then you decide, oh, I'm just going to trade manually and try and smash a couple of trades out and make thousands and thousands of dollars in a day, and then just call it quits, and then I'm set for, I can go on a nice holiday or whatever. That's not going to work in the long term. You might get lucky. It's always, people are always going to get lucky like that, but most of the time you're not. So the long term,
like stacking the small wins, right? Like
exactly,
breaking it down and stacking the small wins until eventually, who knows where you end up. I think that's that's nice.
If you can do it long term, like I think my next sort of goal is to be able to like mirror my pay from my 9-to-5 job in terms of payouts from Ftmo or whoever, just in total. If I can say, like, I've been paid however much for working my 9-to-5 job this month, but also from banker, I've made the same amount or more. Like that's like an incredible financial position to be in. So
Yeah.
getting to that stage is great, and you don't need, that's not a huge, you don't need to take huge risks to be able to do that on a decent sized account. So it's easily achievable for anyone.
So maybe like just to summarize that whole thing is like maybe just for people just to slow down a little bit, right? Rather than chase the big numbers and the big payouts, just slow it down and start seeing it, you know, as a small stepping stone to where you're going long term.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one thing that makes it really difficult is social media. So there's so many traders on like Twitter, for example. That's where I see most of it. Traders post their massive payouts that they're getting, and it's easy to think, God, I wish that could be me. But those people are probably taking massive risks, and it's so easy to take those risks and blow an account.
Yeah,
and those people aren't going to post when they've done that. They're only going to post the ones when they win. So yeah, there's slow down. As I say, get your trust in the data. Aim for those long-term, consistent, like 1%, 2%, 3% a month sort of returns that, like we all know, is achievable with banker. And that's, as you start stacking accounts up, that's like a life-changing amount of money, even at just small percentages.
Exactly that. Love that. And then finally, how would you say, like, as a whole, it's affected you, you know, personally? What impact has it had on you personally? How has that, you know, maybe how has that kind of drip, what's the word I'm looking for? How has that affected the rest of your life?
How's it like spilled out into the okay. I think what I've tried to do so far with banker is think of it as a business.
Yes.
So I'm treating it as if I'm running my own little business where, it's not potentially a lot of work. We're clicking a few buttons on a computer screen and that's maybe you're done for the week. But I'm treating it as a business, and that's given me a lot of insight into how I can help. So my wife runs her own business, runs an actual business, a proper business. And that's sort of given me a lot of insight into how I can help her with like her business. Like doing even like silly things like doing my own accounting, that sort of stuff. Like that has really helped. And the mindset as well, the just trying to find different ways to grow. I think that's been, again, that's something that I can easily like help apply to my wife's business. And but even just in life in general, in anything, if you want to get better at something, you just got you put the time in and aim for that, like those marginal gains, and eventually like things will improve. So I think that's pretty key too.
Love that. Brilliant, mate. Absolutely brilliant. That's pretty much about it. We've covered everything. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing and obviously jumping on the call. I'm sure it's going to help many people moving forward. So I appreciate that. And I look forward to seeing you inside the group, mate.
Yeah, hopefully posting a few more payouts soon. Fingers crossed.
Start stacking them accounts, man.
Yeah, got to get to work.
But yeah, thank you so much. I'll end the recording.